Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
We're live, ladies and gentlemen. It is the final segment of this worldwide transmission tonight. Great job, Jakari Jackson, earlier. It is really with a heavy heart that I come to you with this next report. Black sites, also known as ghost sites, are inside the United States. I've told you this for a long time. We sent up to Virginia and other areas our reporters, Joe Biggs and others, a few years ago, and they discovered Army training camps that had torture facilities in them, similar to what he had seen in Afghanistan, where he would deliver people to be tortured. And when Joe went public with this, people said, well, how dare you be involved in torture? He was going public, exposing the fact that he would deliver people who were tortured, some of which ended up dead later. It took a lot of courage to do that. But the old alchemist refrain is, as above, so below. If the CIA can get away with black sites, secret torture sites in Poland and Romania and Jordan and Egypt and Germany and other areas like Gitmo and Camp X-Ray, they will end up using it against the general public and the American people. Just as the Patriot Act is used in marijuana offenses and people that don't want to pay carbon taxes. They're using the Patriot Act against farmers that build a barn unauthorized. The power structure wants a totalitarian takeover, and now the London Guardian, the Associated Press, and others are coming out with the shocking headlines. The disappeared Chicago police detain Americans at abuse-laden black site. They take them there sometimes for days. That violates federal and state law. Total civil rights violation. It's kidnapping under law. And they torture them. They shackle them. They tie them down. They beat them. This is all admitted in court. They keep them off the booking databases, sometimes for days. People end up being found dead in the restraint chairs. And the argument is, well, they're battling crime. They're getting the job done. Oh, really? Well, guess who worked in this area? Richard Zuley is tied into this, a detective on Chicago's north side from 77 to 2007. He got orders directly from Rumsfeld in camps in Iraq where he got confessions. I mean, I can get rolled at the gym on my IT band, and I'm trying to answer questions that aren't being asked. Can you imagine torture 10, 20, 30 times worse than being stretched by your trainer? I mean, literally, I have to battle to tell my trainer once a week when he stretches me and does the rolling, stop. He's got a degree from UT, Pat Riley. Can you imagine stuff 10, 20, 30 times worse? I'm a strong guy. I'm telling you, folks, if it went on much longer, I'd do anything he said to stop. With the sports stretching, we're talking about waterboarding. We're talking about kids getting raped in front of their parents. That came out in General Tagumbu's own Army report. Incredible, ladies and gentlemen. And now we learn about the bad lieutenant American police brutality exported from Chicago to Guantanamo from this very area. And now they're back here in America with this big, huge, 7, 8-story building with all of this outlandish stuff going on. Listen, folks, in Europe, in Canada, in the United States, they are building threat fusion centers that are federalization, globalization centers, where they basically federalize your police and train them how to carry all of this garbage out. And that's just the front end of the building. There's another even bigger building down the street. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's got a basement, 5-story building, full of all of this evil going on inside. I want to talk to the viewers out there. How much more will you put up with? The IRS persecuting veterans, gun owners, Tea Partiers, pro-life groups, and then Lois Lerner gets a record bonus. The NSA spying on domestic groups. Homeland Security having a summit last week saying Homeland Security is for domestic libertarians and right-wingers, not for radical jihadis. Chicago takes their citizens' guns, the society collapses, there's crime all over the streets, and the answer is torture the criminals till they confess. Now you've discredited the entire police department, the entire judiciary, the entire government. Just like we caught the DEA years ago in what they call parallel construction, spying on people without warrants with the NSA wiretapping systems, and then creating fake investigations later to present to the courts. But it turned out the courts knew and were going along with it. Federal courts have 97% conviction rates. State courts are less than half. That's not a free society when you have 97, 98% conviction rates. It's rigged. The federal government is occupied. It's taken over. It's torturing people. And Chicago cops that were involved in this in Chicago are then sent overseas to carry this out. Not to battle tyranny, but to sell the idea that torture is a good thing, just like Jack Bauer in 24 would do. This is simply unprecedented. And the reason I decided to come on the Nightly News tonight after Jakari finished was it hit me. I was on the air 3 hours today, and I spent 10 minutes on this like it was no big deal because I've developed cognitive dissonance myself. I've been conditioned knowing this, being so close to it. Nietzsche said, you stare into the abyss, you become the abyss. You dance for the devil, you become the devil. I've become so comfortable with this evil that it was no big deal to me. Like the BBC announced they're going to make people get chips to have, jobs in Europe, and I just barely mentioned it. What more is coming if we'll put up with this? It's simply incredible. In fact, I wanted to end this broadcast with the Alexander Solzhenitsyn quote of how we burned in the camps. It's laying on the other broadcast desk in there. Will somebody go grab it? Because this is live, teleprompter-free analysis. And by live, we're taping this tonight. Sometimes it's live, but it's live. I mean, I'm live. I'm not scripting anything. I'm here. And that's why they're running in with the sheet from the room next door. Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote this in Gulag Archipelago that he won the Nobel Prize for that he wrote in the late 1970s. He left the United States because he said we were turning into what he'd fought in Soviet Russia. And he talked about this in Stalingrad. At the time, it was Leningrad, later named to Stalingrad, and how we burned in the camps later thinking, what would things have been like if every security operative, when he went out at night to make an arrest, they arrested about a third of the city and killed him or tortured him, had been uncertain whether he would return alive and had to say goodbye to his family, or if during periods of mass arrest, as for an example in Leningrad, when they arrested a quarter of the entire city, it was actually about a third, people had not simply sat there in their lairs, pawing with terror at every bang on the doorstep or downstairs door and at every step of the staircase, but had understood they had nothing left to lose and had boldly set up in the downstairs hall an ambush of a half dozen people with axes, hammers, and pokers, or whatever else they had at hand. The organs of the police state, I would add, would have very quickly suffered a shortage of officers and transport, and notwithstanding all of Stalin's thirst for blood, I would add, the cursed machine would have ground to a halt. If we would have loved freedom enough, and even more, we would have had no awareness of the real situation. We purely and simply deserved everything that happened afterwards. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Now, we are at that crossroads. All the evil's out. It's all admitted. Free media put down by our founders, got the truth out in the face of state-run media. Legions of examples are there. I'm not calling for violence. I was on a international UK broadcast earlier before this TV show, and I was asked, Alex, by a listener, is there ever a time, I was on Richie Allen's show, Irish fella, I was asked, is there ever a time for violence? And the answer is absolutely. Not offensively, but defensively. If we can't win the info war, and they come with forced inoculations we know are deadly, they start rounding people up in mass and people don't come back, and dead bodies are found here and there to scare the public, then we don't have a right, we have a duty that defense is an offense in that situation, and you don't wait. Solzhenitsyn wasn't a military strategist. You don't wait at your house for them to come. You go out and you defend the innocents they're going after, and you meet them at a time and place they're not expecting you, just like they come to your house at 5 a.m. That said, most SWAT teams are awake. Police are more awake than any other group except military. They're not our enemies. We need to triple and quadruple and then do it again to the police and military to expose what's happening, because the Defense Department plans, the Emergency Centers Establishment Act, the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program, the Threat Fusion Centers, this is all a giant globalist foreign bank takeover by the private Federal Reserve. This is it. And this will destroy everybody's future in this country. This is being done to take the pension funds and destroy the country. And it's all out in the open. So our enemies are not the police and military. Our enemies are the foreign globalist collaborators and usurpers that have set this up. So 99% of my work is about winning the intellectual war. There have been hundreds of revolutions in the last 200 years in the world, you can look them up, that weren't called revolutions. Cultural awakenings, velvet revolutions, cultural revolutions, not in the sense of Mao, but in liberty, better ideas, freedom, people not complying. That's what we need to have now. The enemy wants to have a violent revolution because they can trigger it, they can stage stuff and blame it on us. We don't want to go down that road. But as Churchill said, there may come a time when fighting an enemy that you don't stand up and you have, even though you have a good chance of winning, and then later you don't stand up even though you have a moderate chance of winning. And then finally, you got to stand up because it's better to die on your feet than on your knees as a slave. So I say that to all the operatives that watch and track us and attack us and everything. Come on, you know tyranny's here. You can't paint up what you're doing as a good thing. Our government runs a radical Islamicist. They run the narcotics, everything, because it's not our government. It's a criminal consortium, and they know that the collapse is coming and that they've engineered it. And you either join Mordor or you join the forces of good. This is that come to Jesus moment. It's for the rest of eternity. You make the decision. The good news is I'm seeing a lot of good signs across the board that people are really waking up bipartisanly and transcending partisan politics. Great job with the crew. Great job, Jakari. That's it for this original edition of InfoWars Nightly News, teleprompter-free information, liberty-based with a bias for truth, openly admitting that we try to tell the truth and try to be fearless. Lord willing, I'll see you back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, with a syndicated radio broadcast, and back Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central, with InfoWars Nightly News. If you're watching, you are the resistance. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.